you know what, Kate, I'm going to follow up with you offline on a conversation about it because it's a little more complicated than that. Some in the RFQ process, you're looking at qualifications and not necessarily looking at the.
I know. I look at the ratings.
You're right, exactly. So I'll have another discussion with you on it. If you're buying chemicals or, you know, chairs or something like that, it's lowest responsible bidder.
Yeah, I want to follow up with you on that.
Sure, no
On
problem.
ratings, who does them, how it's determined.
Yep.
Thanks.
Madam Clerk, it's 6:30. This meeting will come to order. Could you please read the roll?
Jamie Bova.
Here.
Lynn Underwood Segley.
Here.
Elizabeth Fuerte.
Here.
Charlie Holder.
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard.
Here.
Angela McCalla.
Here.
Me, Marie Napolitano.
Here.
There is a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up for citizens forum?
I see one person with their hand raised, Bonnie Niskern.
Okay.
Bonnie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Are you addressing the council on an item that's not currently on the docket tonight?
I am.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, Madam Chair and members of the council, I can't thank you enough for your service. You know how I feel about that. I've worked with you as president of ALN. I've worked on the charter review. I've been on the Arts and Cultural Alliance Commission, and I know how hard you work. I am asking you to convene a special workshop on the city's response to the COVID pandemic. And the reason I am asking that is it really is not clear to me who is in charge. In looking through some of the past resolutions, I understand that emergency powers were last given to the city manager on August 4th. That resolution expired on October 4th. I have listened to the city manager's briefings, and I have heard him say that he will not take questions from the public. I need to know who's in charge. We know right now, and I believe the science is clear, that a person doesn't simply get over COVID. There is, in some documented cases, long-term consequences. This pandemic is getting worse. It's going to go on for a while. And we need to know what the city's plan is. The state has provided us with a lot of information and resources, but we have a particular type of demographic here that I don't think is being addressed. And I've been sent to the communications director, who is very responsive, but he doesn't have the answer. So I'm just asking, I'm requesting you to convene some sort of workshop where we can have, we residents, long-term residents who are living here year-round can get answers to our questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bonnie.
The consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exceptions of E, G, and H. And I'm wondering if anyone else has any others to pull from the consent calendar.
Hearing none, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Councilor Bova seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Oh, wait, no, I want to comment on the other ones.
Oh, okay.
Just put my hand up preemptively, sorry.
Okay.
So we're good with E, G, and H, is that right? Yes, okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, clerk, take the individual roll call. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Before we begin, I did want to recognize Councilor Forte for a comment that she had made to me, and she asked if she could make it from the floor. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week, I attended a orientation for newly elected leaders, and it was on a Friday and Saturday, and it was hosted by the Hensfeld Institute, the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and the Rhode Island Association of School Committees. In this orientation, there were over 120 elected officials from around the state. And I had asked our mayor to give me the opportunity to recognize our city manager and our school superintendent for an excellent presentation on how they maintain collaboration, effective communication, and how they cultivate partnership. On the second day of this orientation, several elected officials that were representing our neighboring towns were still talking about their presentation. And during one of the breakout sessions, one of them said to me, and I quote, "I know Newport is going through a lot of critical, tough situations, but they are doing this the right way. They are resilient and they're going to get things done." Another elected official, again from a neighboring town, said, and I quote, "The presentation of the school superintendent and the city manager was great to witness the working relationship they have. And you guys are going to build a great high school for your students. Congratulations," unquote. So again, I wanted to take this opportunity to share with my colleagues and with the citizens of Newport. You know, that you missed it, but it was a great presentation, and I am honored to have seen it. And I thank them both for representing our cities in such a well presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Very kind.
It's most appreciated. And it's nice to know that the other communities have recognized the cooperation that we have with our school department and our city administration. Okay. Now we're going to go to the consent calendar.
Right. I just wanted to mention in Section E of the consent calendar, the 2020 boards and commissions annual reports. We received the annual reports from the Historic District Commission, the Historic Cemetery Advisory Commission, Cliffwalk Commission, Newport Canvassing Authority, Newport Energy and Environment Commission, and the Newport Waterfront Commission. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of the volunteers who participate in these boards and commissions, and I want to thank them for their dedication to the city. The reports were very impressive. Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the consent calendar with the exception of F, G, and H. Is that correct?
Of G,
No.
of
G.
G and H. The G and H I'd like to just put together. We received communications from Rebecca Elwell of the Newport County Prevention Coalition and Erin Donovan Boyle of the Newport Chamber of Commerce, the Newport Area Chamber of Commerce. I have read both. I read both, and that both entities have expressed concerns about a marijuana dispensary. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone had read those communications. That's all.
And what was the other one that somebody had a question on?
That was it, E, G, and F. E, G, and H.
Oh, E, G, and F. Okay. fine.
H.
All right. Motion to approve.
G,
Second.
and H.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilor Bova?
I just wanted to echo Councilor Segley on the reports from those boards and commissions and encourage folks to take a look at them to get a little more insight on what our bodies, the boards and commissions do, especially as we've been really pushing for folks to volunteer and apply, and that these reports are a really good way to understand what the different commissions do and how you can get involved.
Thank you. Any
So-
other comments?
So motion to approve E.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve E. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the roll call?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
And motion to approve G and H.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Counselor Leonard. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the roll?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Application for a vittling license renewal, Not Norms Newport LLC, Not Norms Catering Company, 515 Thames Street.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Counselor McCalla seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. You can tell I want to get back to the floor.
Application for a new vittling license, Jordan Duran, DBA Simple Merchant Coffee, 513 Broadway.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and seconded by Counselor Leonard to approve. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, could the clerk take the roll?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Application for a new vittling license, Robin Realty LLC, DBA to be determined, 103 to 105 Bellevue Avenue. This is in conjunction with the liquor license transfer of Griswold's.
Madam Chair and Council, I am wondering if we could combine this with the hearing that we have when we are in the, we can convene as a Board of License Commissioners. I'm wondering if we could combine those two.
I would second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to combine the hearing license and the VIT license on Robin Realty for Griswold's. It's at the end of our docket.
The liquor.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the roll call?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes, I would like to appoint Counselor Charles Holder to the Discover Newport Board.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor Bova.
this is as a liaison, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any others? Questions? Madam Clerk, can you take the roll?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
There are two other Newport appointments on the Discover Newport Board. The recommendation from their board has come as Sean O'Connor and Jen Chapin. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Madam Clerk, can you take the roll?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
The planning board, and we have been meeting with a number of applicants for the planning board. I was informed this afternoon that the applicants were great. Everybody had a different perspective, but offered something. But right now we're choosing two. There's also another person from planning that resigned as of last meeting, which we'll discuss at the next meeting. I make a motion to appoint Kevin Mashad and Teresa Stokes to the planning board.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Counselor.
I was hoping that we'd be able to discuss the applicants a little bit, because I know that there were so many and that folks maybe had different opinions on who they thought would be best suited. And so I'm not sure how that would be done in this format, but I would like to have the opportunity to have everyone on the council, at least if they have someone that they would like to see put forward, have that opportunity. I personally in discussing the candidates, as a body in the interviews, I was really pleased to see that there was an architect that applied, because we only have one architect on the planning board currently, and she is nearing the end of her term on the body. She's been there for quite a long time. It's Kim Salerno. She's a very valued member of the board, but she's hitting her time limit on being able to stay on the stay on the board any longer. And I think it would be really beneficial to have an architect on the body. And I would like to put Ket Murphy forward as a person to consider because of her background as an architect.
Second.
The way we did it this time, because it is kind of an awkward situation, everybody had promoted 2 people. And I can tell you, there was 1 vote, 4 votes for one of the candidates, and then 3 of the other candidates received 3 votes each. So at this point, they really need somebody on planning. I certainly, there's an opening coming up. I certainly would be willing to discuss it with other council members in terms of Ms. Murphy, but the way we've done it this time, they really need some people on this planning board. And I think it's important that we at least appoint 2 tonight. There'll be another one coming up next meeting. And we also have 2 other applicants and another architect. One of them is an architect. So I do think that we should move forward and appoint these people tonight. And then we will reconsider all the candidates that have applied for the next meeting.
Do you think that it would be possible at the time that we have the interviews with the additional applicants to have time set aside after the interviews to discuss it as a body?
Certainly.
I think that would be helpful for some of us, and I would appreciate it.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Excuse me, clerk, read the roll, please.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla? Counselor McCalla?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
sorry. Yes, I can. I'm thinking. Okay, this will be an aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Next, we have reappointments on the Historic District Commission, and I would recommend that we reappoint Andy Bork and Nancy Stafford, both who have terms expiring in February 3rd, 2023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to bring up the fact that we, for many boards and commissions, but also for the HDC, that we will still be interviewing people, and if they have any interest in it, or if they have a pending application, to please contact the mayor's office. Thank you.
Okay. I'd also like to point out, there was a letter in the Daily News this week from an attorney that works extensively with both historic and zoning commissions, and it was really, really good. He was encouraging all citizens to take a look, not only at these boards, but our other boards, and encouraging people to run and to make a difference in our community. So I would like to thank Turner Scott for putting that letter forward in the Newport Daily News. Okay, we have the,
So we need to vote on those, right?
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in, clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. A resolution designating Jean Marie Napolitano as Chief Executive Officer of the city for purposes of signing various state and federal documents.
Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
I said second. Okay.
Okay, both. All right, discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the roll?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. A resolution regarding the performance evaluation of the city manager.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Counselor Bova.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to move passage of this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. And then I would like to just introduce this by saying that the purpose of this is really to be beneficial to both the council and the city manager to have the evaluation, because it helps the city manager, understand where we're all at as a body, and provides him with good, clear goalposts and helps him be able to do his job better. And it's also in his contract that it should be done. So I think that it would be really beneficial for all of us to do the evaluation, and also to look at it as an opportunity to have that formal discussion and dialogue with the city manager as a council on how working together has been going, and how we can improve it in any ways that we see going forward.
Is there any other discussion? Yes, Counselor Leonard?
I'm perplexed by this, Counselor Bova, because in the past 2 years, I had requested an evaluation of the city manager, and no meeting was ever called to do an evaluation. And I even had the city clerk draw up a special meeting that people on the council said they would sign on to, so we could do an evaluation. And that wasn't signed off on. So in 2 years, we didn't do it. So now we have 2 new people to the council, and I don't feel that we should put them in a position to evaluate the city manager that they've known probably formally for a month. I mean, how do you evaluate somebody that you've known for a month? So I can't support that at this time. I would like to postpone it and give the new people an opportunity to work with the city manager and to be able to evaluate the city manager on their own, and the relationship they find, and how they feel it's progressed. And at this time, I don't think that offers them the opportunity. And I don't think it's right to do this when it hasn't been done for 2 years and should have been done.
Madam Chair, if I may respond.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Regardless of whether or not the city manager has been evaluated in the past 2 or 4 or more years, I think that this is us as a body and me as a counselor trying to do the right thing and abide by the contract that we as a council approved. I think that we can work with the city manager and with the solicitor to take a little bit longer time. The contract says January 30th, but I think that we can work with both the city manager and the city solicitor to take a bit longer than that, because you are correct that the term did just start. However, I don't think that we need to throw things in people's faces, as is sometimes the case. And I didn't put this in as a rebuke to anyone, certainly not to the city manager. I think he does an excellent job and has done an excellent job, especially throughout COVID and this extremely challenging time. We started the meeting with Councilor Fuerte giving him praise because he has done such a great job, but it is important for us to be able to work together as best as possible by having an evaluation that really works both ways. It allows both of us, the council and the city manager, to effectively communicate with one another and set goalposts and performance objectives and all of those things that help people do their job as best as possible.
Yes, Councillor Leonard.
I would see this as a purposeful meeting if the goal of such a meeting with the city manager and the council were to review the job description and the goals and objectives, because that would allow everyone, including the newer people on the council, to understand what the goals and objectives are. And so everybody knows what to look for and be able to evaluate going forward. But if it's to sit and evaluate someone with so little time, I can't support it. If it's to ask for a meeting to discuss goals and objectives that would actually benefit council and the city manager, I would do that. I would support that. So if you want me to add an amendment that I could support, I'm happy to do it. And if not, I'm not going to support it.
Can I make a suggestion? I agree. It's time for the city manager to have an evaluation. In November, both the manager and I spoke about it. He said that he had sent out one form, I guess, and he was working with you, Jamie. And I think it's a good thing. The council needs time. And could I suggest maybe that we do this in March, when the newer members have had an opportunity at least to have some working experience with the new manager, or the new council members with the manager, but also because I think there's several different ways to evaluate a manager. And maybe Joe could address some of this. Maybe Mr. Nicholson would like to address the council on this issue, because he was very anxious at the time we were speaking to have this evaluation. And I appreciate the fact you put this forward. So Mr. Nicholson, if you're on, if you could perhaps.
Of course I'm on. I've been through this for over 64 years with two sisters, by the way. I was always in the middle of those two, but this is my thinking on it. There's two aspects of my contract. One aspect is I'll call it your traditional performance evaluation, which should be done. And I do recognize that Charlie and Elizabeth are in a deficient mode here because of their short time in working with me. The other portion of it is much more important, at least at this stage of my career with the city, is much more important. And that is the goal setting aspect of it, the mutual goal setting aspect of it. And as you know, I always describe our relationship and the same relationship that I have with the employees as a team approach to things. So I think it's very, very vital and would be very helpful to both of us as a body, city administration, myself personally, and the council, if we, as soon as we can, get on the same page as to where we are going forward and where this council wishes to go. I may have one thought process as to based upon my experience, the direction on certain things, how the city should proceed. That may be completely different from how the council wishes to proceed. We've done this before. I've done it before with other councils, and some of you have been on it. So I think it would be very helpful to proceed. I'll defer. Of course, I have to defer to how you wish to proceed on this, but I am anxious, as I expressed to you, Gene, and as I expressed to Jamie last August, to get this thing kind of under wraps and moving forward in a good way, because we both benefit in a myriad of ways from sitting down and going through a performance evaluation of what, where you think I can improve. I may be close to perfect, but I'm not perfect. But the goals are very important in terms of how we work going forward, because even though we're in this aberration of a time, and it's difficult to, I would say difficult to govern from your standpoint and manage from my standpoint because of COVID. We're going to pop out of this soon enough. And then we'll be hopefully back to a very stable environment. And at that time, we want to kind of hit the ground running and be able to work on what we all mutually believe is beneficial for the citizens and taxpayers in Newport as a whole. So I'd like to move forward on something at some time sooner than later. I guess I don't want to, contradict anyone here, but it's part of my contract, but it's also part of the whole holistic way we move forward in the city. So and you and I have talked about it, Gene, and I've been at you about it. So those are my thoughts on it.
Okay. Councilor Holder?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple questions on this real quick. One, when was the last time there was an evaluation done? And two, why has it been so long if it's in the contract to be done every year?
I can answer that. As I said, there's two parts of it. I can't tell you why it is taking so long. And, I suppose I will take responsibility for it and maybe acting in a little bit of a passive aggressive manner. It's the council responsibility to evaluate the manager. Why it's taken so long, I don't know. But I suppose I could have pushed it over the goal line at some time. It became a backseat item, and it became a backseat item, I think, because I've had good relationships with the council over the years. And what was your second question, Charlie? Your second part of your question?
Well, the first part was when was the last evaluation?
Probably at the beginning of the term. I mean, I've been here with the city since in the manager's capacity as an interim since September, I think, of 2014. So around that time, I don't think I've ever had a written one. Certainly got an oral one. I think the irony of it is the relationship I have with all of you. I'm evaluated every day because I speak with you every day, and some of you are critical at times, and you should be. But in terms of a formal document, it hasn't been done.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilor Leonard and then Councilor Bova.
I'm just going to go a little further here. I spent 25 years doing evaluations for employees in my department when I worked. And part of an evaluation, I think, for wherever you work, is that you have a job description, which includes the goals and objectives that are to be met. Then there's a second part where there's a performance evaluation of whether the goals have been met. And part of that is for, and I'll use the word boss for a better term, where the boss meets with the employee and says, here's the job description and the goals. Do you think you've met these goals and objectives? And then they discuss, the boss, if you want to say that, and the employee, of whether those goals and objectives have been met. And finally, the biggest plus of all of it, or should be, is that a discussion is held between the employee and the boss on whether the performance goals were met, and most importantly, is there a way to improve performance, be it on either goal, either side, but how do all of us improve, but specifically probably a relationship with the employee and the boss. So it's not just looking at what role did the person play and I give you an A or a B. The bottom line is, how do we get the best performance? And I don't think we've done that. At least we
Let
haven't
me make-
done it for a while.
If I could just make one other point, we have over the years,
Over the
certainly,
years.
Charlie, to answer your question, we have had goal-setting sessions, and the one that comes to mind, which didn't turn out well, at least in terms of presentation, but was the one in the basement of the library. I think some of you who were on the council remember that one. Has some notoriety to it, but
Yep.
but in any event, that aspect of it has happened a number of times before. But so I'll go on mute right now. Let you guys hash it out.
Counselor Bova and then Counselor McCalla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to point out that in the resolved, it does state that part of the goal is to provide the city manager with a set of goals and performance objectives. But I would also like to yield the floor to Councilor Fuerte. I don't know if she knows how to raise her hand formally in Zoom, and she's been popping her hand up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Bova. So I want to thank Councilor Leonard and Councilor Bova for the discussion as a new person coming on. But also, my agreement as to being added to this resolution was also in going through contracts and reading and catching up. And this was stated on the contract. So it's good that we're having these discussions. So if things were done in a certain way in the past, coming forward, we need to establish whether, change the date so that it can help new counselors, to be an effective evaluator. So I like that the conversation is being had, and I'm glad that it's open and that citizens can hear it, so that folks can know that this is part of being open and being transparent. So I appreciate the discussion. Yes, I agree with Councilor Leonard and Bova that if we can decide on a month that would work, best for everyone, especially for new counselors, that is great. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor McCalla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so that I'm clear, are we voting right now to amend the resolution right now? Or are we just having discussion?
There was no motion to amend.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I just want to say, I think overall, best management practices are often a product of thoughtful and deliberate processes that really reflect the importance the council places on both communication and obviously our council city manager relationship. I really want to thank Councilor Bova for bringing this as to our attention to be as part of best practices, and also understanding that the needs of the city often can change over time, and the priorities are likely to shift with each council election. So it only makes sense as part of effective communication that the focus be particularly on community needs, projects, and priorities. So I just want to say thank you, Councilor Bova.
Perhaps, Joe, you could formalize some sort of communication to the council individually about their goals and objectives. And also, because in the past, there's a lot of different formats used for evaluating city managers. Provide the council with either, one of those formats so that they can go through the questions, particularly the ones that have been around. Not the new ones could have a little bit of difficulty with it, but that's why I had suggested March. It would give enough time, I thought.
You can always do it more than once, so.
Sure.
So
Yes, Counselor Leonard.
I think it would be helpful
Yeah.
if everyone received a copy of the city manager job description ahead of time, so that people can look at it and say, oh, okay, this is what the city manager was hired with this job description, and that can lead to an open discussion. So those papers, I think, if I'm correct, were all given a couple years ago by Justin McLaughlin, and he had all that because he was the keeper of the folder.
Right.
And maybe that can be resurrected out of the mayor's office where it's been. And
I have all that stuff. I have,
Right.
and quite frankly, it's just not the job description. It's the charter. The city charter specifies the duties of the city manager. And that's
But it'd be
kind of
nice
more
to
paramount.
know what
than
they
the
are.
description. Okay.
Joe, if you could get that out to the council members, that would be a
Certainly.
start.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm
Councilor
wondering
Becky.
if Counselor Bova would be willing to amend the date so that we can vote on this?
If I may, so I didn't put the date in the resolved because I figured we wouldn't be able to make the 31st, but I wasn't sure if I didn't want to do something that accidentally violated the contract. So if the city solicitor could weigh in.
Crispy, and I think you find the resolve does not, while the recitals in the resolution do suggest that it should have been done in January and that it should be done right away. The resolve does not put a time limit on. So if it passes, I think you are able to, even with the contractual language, to schedule something even in March,
Thank you.
if that's what the council as a body wants to do.
I think getting the information first to the council, all council members, in terms of job description and also what the charter expects of the manager would be a good start. And then everybody has, I know, their individual goals and objectives. So if you can provide the council with that information, it'll give us a start. Thank
Sure.
you. Is there any other discussion?
maybe you can tell us what the resolved would be if you're going to put a date in there.
There's no date.
I know you don't have one. I know that. So my question is, do you want to put a date or just leave it open?
I think it's best, if we can leave it open and give ourselves a little bit of leeway to figure out the scheduling. And if for whatever reason it falls off the table, we can, we've all had this discussion, we're all aware of it, we can bring it back up. I don't think it will fall off the table. I think we'll probably get it done in the March timeframe, like Madam Chair suggested. So I don't think that we need a specific date in the resolved. And you know me, I'm usually all about the date, so.
I will not let it fall off the table. I will make that a representation to you, because I would like to get it done. I've wanted to get it done, and we need to get it done. So I will get you the information and we'll proceed.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, Madam Chair, can you take a roll call vote?
Yes.
Or Madam Clerk, sorry.
Okay. Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. A resolution regarding a homestead exemption.
Again, I'd like to recognize Councilor Bova for comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I submitted this resolution in follow-up to the resolution that we had passed back in June, where we directed the city administration to prepare a report on how a homestead exemption could be implemented in the city. And we have not received that report yet. So I put this in to kind of make a push to make sure that we get that report. And excuse me, the resolve reads that the Newport City Council instructs the city manager to put the homestead exemption report on the January 27th, 2021 docket and schedule a workshop to follow as soon as possible. I think that the council needs this information and the public needs the information so that we can have an informed discussion and the council can make an educated decision. And I move passage.
There a second?
Second.
There's a motion, second. Discussion? Councilor Leonard.
Thank you. I think I know and understand the homestead exemption probably more than anyone on the council, only because I'm in real estate and I spend a great deal of time looking at how other communities do it. And it can often be a very involved process. And I do agree with Councilor Bova that it was on the docket in June and we should have looked forward to getting a report or comparisons or information. But I can tell you that Newport, because we have a dual form or dual tiered method of taxation and evaluation, or I should say assessments, that most communities don't have, that I don't know how much of a report has been done so far, but I can tell you that to get a real sense of how it would work, there are many aspects that have to be part of a report, which include what communities, for example, have certain tiers. I can tell you that, for example, Vineyard Haven has a 7% discount for full-time residents. I think we have to look at, with our business getting a different mill rate, how do we define business? Would that include Airbnb? There are properties used for commercial use. There are lots of aspects of this. I think it would be really helpful that when we get a report, and I don't know who would do it, and if that's been started, but we need to have what are the methods that other cities and towns use? What is the impact, I can tell you in Newport, on big estates that may be sold in a hurry if the rate is such that they're kind of penalized and they pay a big wad of the money in taxes. And then we want to make sure that it's equitable for everybody, whether you have a small home or a big home, and what the evaluations are. We haven't received our assessments yet, the new assessments. So I think that needs to be looked at before we actually come in and say, how would a homestead exemption work, considering the assessments of now? Because all of the appraisers that I've talked to in the last couple of months said to me, get ready, Kate, the assessments for business properties used for business, buildings, is going to go down because of the impact of COVID. Because you can't, the income value part is not there to substantiate the values. So we're going to have all of that to look at, including the hotels. So whatever we do is going to be impacted by the tax levy and the amount of money we're going to need to operate. So it's not something that's simple where we can say, all right, we're going to give everybody who lives here full-time a homestead exemption, because it's not a little picture. It's a huge picture on how it's implemented. So I'm just giving that as a heads up. I don't think less than a month or 2 weeks can allow it, but I'm happy that the discussion's opened up again. And my question or comments are, to be done properly, has anything been done so far? Do we have any kind of report in process? Or are we gonna sit and try to figure it out in 2 weeks?
No, let me just offer something to you, to the council. Just very basic information. We have statutory authority for a homestead exemption. We have ordinance authority for a homestead exemption. That's really not the issue. We can't, let's not mix up a different tier of taxation, because that throws everything out the window when we need statutory authority from the General Assembly to create another tier of taxation. We plan on, and we have planned on, a report. And the first aspect of the report is going to come January 20th. We have the budget workshop in which we're going to talk about the homestead exemption, at least from explaining it a little bit more thoroughly to the council and to those that would choose to participate in that workshop. We're going to tell you that one of the issues that, and following that, I've already prepared a report with some examples as to impact, but really at the root of this is a need to define the goals of the exemption and the qualifications and those that would qualify for the exemption. You may say across the board, others may say within a tier of residential properties. Let's just throw out an example, $500,000 and under, get a 10% homestead exemption. One thing that you are right on, Kate, though, is what we're going to need this year. And I'm glad this discussion's happening and we can provide a plethora of information. But what we need this year is stabilization of our finances. And your information, Kate, is the same information we're getting. The revaluation creates a little bit of a conundrum in moving forward on something like this. We do believe that there's going to be a declining problem with our commercial valuations. But on the other hand, what we've been told thus far is residential has either been consistent or increased fairly dramatically. So a lot needs to come out on the wash, but suffice it to say, I don't see a problem providing information to the council. And indeed, we're going to start providing information on January 20th as part of the package of the budget workshop that we're going to have. And then we will provide a report by the 27th if that's what you so choose to have. I've been working on one for quite some time now with the information that we have. But probably the most important thing is you can't really flush it out completely until the council establishes the parameters. You can't establish the parameters until you completely understand, all 7 of you understand the confines of the homestead exemption. And that is set forth in state law. And we've had that authority for some time. And I just want to add, if we're going to not pursue this and go to the thought process of another tax classification category. We've talked about a tax classification category for Airbnbs or non-owner occupied properties. I know we talked about that last year. That mechanism would be in lieu of a homestead exemption. And to do that, we'd have to abandon our homestead exemption statute and default into the state law, which says in lieu of a homestead exemption, you can create a non-owner occupied and owner occupied differential tax classifications. So in any event, there's still a lot of work. The devil's in the details, and we're more than happy to provide the details to you so that you can make an informed decision, but with the caveat that the governor's budget was late for FY21. The governor's budget still isn't going to come out to FY22 is not going to come out until March. So we're still in this, this amorphous, confusing time of whether we don't know whether our finances are going to be stabilized or not. And this is a great mechanism, a beneficial mechanism, but we need stability. And that's what I wanted to offer to the council. But you're going to get some information on, I think it's next Wednesday, January 20th on it as a precursor. And we've already, we're ready with our PowerPoint on that. I'm ready with some semblance of report which I'm going to send you anyways. Not going to just keep it in my drawer. And then you'll decide whether you wish to have a workshop on it. And then, so there's a lot of other things that have to go along with this. The other thing is, from an administrative standpoint, if the council would decide to go forward with this, it does take a lot of administrative work. And we need to develop our ordinances a little bit more, and you'll see that in my report. There's some other good models. Our ordinances are a little thin on it, but we've threshed out some good ordinances as to the qualifications. But there's a lot of policy decisions that the council, once you understand it, would have to make with regard to this.
Joe, can I ask, has the reevaluation been completed? Or
80% complete.
80%?
80%. Yeah, we don't have the numbers yet.
Okay. So we wouldn't know, no matter what we chose, what the impact would be until we actually see those numbers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And our concern, as I said, is, Kate hit the nail on the head. It's been confirmed by the finance director, and we've all thought this, and it's no mystery, and that is that the issue with commercial properties. So in the revaluation, if we were to shift, let's just, again, I'm going to use the $500,000 as the example. If we were to exempt 10%, give a 10% exemption on that we're going to advise you that we need to shift that money to the other those that properties that are valued $501,000 and up, because we've got to make up that lost revenue somehow. At least that's what we'll represent to you. You have the double whammy, at least this year, and I think this year only, of what we expect to be is a lost revenue from the commercial properties because of a devaluation because of the pandemic, and that money is going to be made up somewhere. So there's kind of a double whammy for that, maybe a double whammy for that group that would be valued $501,000 and more. I don't know that for a fact yet. There's still a lot of things to come out in the wash, but those are things we're going to discuss with you on January 20th as well. And I have other information about what we believe we need to do to move forward on this, but I won't belabor the point. There's some other minor issues about the demographics and things like that, but so that's what we see.
Okay, Councilor Bova?
Thank you. And thank you to the city manager for his remarks. I think he really hit the nail on the head, that this is not an uncomplicated thing to implement. And that's kind of precisely why I'm pushing to get us the report, however much of it has been able to be prepared, and also for us to continue to have these discussions in workshops. And I would ask Joe, for the workshop that is planned on the 20th, would it be possible for the council to get some of the materials ahead of time so that we can go into it more prepared?
Oh, sure. We just finalized the presentation just this morning, and the answer is yes. What we're doing right now is we were just sending it out to the department heads as of 11 o'clock this morning to see whether they had anything they thought should be tweaked on it. But right after that, I suspect by tomorrow we can get that out to you. It's a fairly basic presentation that mostly talks about, where we, pursuant to the resolution, the other resolution on the budget workshop, where we are and what we anticipate. And, but I did ask Laura, I said, we're going to have a discussion about homestead, and we need to kind of ramp it up as part of it. You can't just talk about this stuff in a vacuum, obviously. So you have to talk about it as one big discussion. And quite frankly, I think one of the things that I may have underestimated is the amount of work that it takes to go into the statute is very simple in its context, but the amount of work that that goes into getting this program off the ground is somewhat administratively intensive. So timing's everything, Jamie. So, but we're happy to get the information to you, and I'll get the presentation out to you, hopefully first thing in the morning.
Councilor Leonard?
I just want the public to know, I think the shock is going to come to every single person who opens their city assessment letter and the homes in their neighborhood have sold in the 400 to 800,000 range. Those are the people that are going to get the shocks, because that is the biggest increase in values. And a lot of it was due to Airbnb, because they were bought as investment properties. And that's why a lot of people, unfortunately, our buyers can't buy and renters can't rent. It's part of that picture. So I can promise you that in my ward, and my ward's enormous, I don't think we're going to find 50 houses that are going to have an assessment of less than 400,000. I'd be shocked, because the fair market value is what somebody paid for it, what somebody was willing to pay for it. And I can tell you, when those assessments come out, I'm going to do what I did 4 years ago. I'm going to go through every single property sold in the city of Newport for that time period of the assessment that's being looked at, to see if those properties are assessed at what they sold for, because it didn't happen before. And it's a matter of fairness, but it's also part of the big picture. So it's very complicated. It's not as easy as people think. And the values are often very hard to determine. You could have two houses side by side, one a two-family, one a one-family, both built the same as two families. One of them occupied as a two-family, one occupied as a one-family, and the two-family is assessed at 30% less than the one-family. There are so many parts of this that are confusing, and it's not easy. So that's just what happens. So people need to be aware, and they can ask for help. And I always help people who call me, and others can do the same. But you have to look at the big picture. It's not something that is simply explained and, okay, we're going to do that, because somebody else is going to have to make up the money.
And if I could offer one other, this is more just for the council's information. One other point is, in terms of across the board exemptions that we give on statutory or by ordinance amount to $23 million. I can't even, in terms of this tax exempt property, I don't even think I can recite the number. It's so large in terms of exemptions. But the largest in terms of the personal exemptions are the veterans exemption, which totals somewhere in the $10 million range.
Then you have the nonprofits that don't pay taxes, some of them.
It's tax exempt, right?
That's right.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, clerk, can you take the roll call?
Madam Chair, there is someone in the public who has their hand up.
Yes, this is a council resolution that the council is discussing. If we pursue a workshop, that's where the residents would comment.
I would think that we would allow comment from residents on all of our resolutions. They are still going to be limited to the 3 minutes.
Well, you know, in past councils, when we've had resolutions, seldom did we have participants because we don't even know where this is going. Council needs more information in order to answer questions. I think it would behoove us to get more information from whatever is sent to us by the city, and talk to the different aspects of it when we have that information. There's going to be some residents and some people that are going to be for, there's going to be some against, just like on the council, but I'd like to see more information on it.
I agree that we need more information, but I still think it's we ought to hear from the public when they want to speak.
How does the council feel about this? Are we going to take citizens' comments right now on a resolution? Yeah, Councilor Leonard.
I just want to ask a question here. We have a resolved on this resolution. And it's obvious to me, unless I'm missing something, that we're not going to have a full report on January 27th, and now we're being asked to vote. So are you taking out that date, or are you leaving that date? I mean, what are we actually?
The city manager said that he has a report that's nearly ready.
Is that a complete report, Joe?
I will give you what I have. The report is going to be qualified because of the nuances that we've been discussing, that all of you are aware on, and that is, complete report, it's kind of an oxymoron in terms of what that even means. I will give you the information that we have with what we have. I can't read your minds and know where you want to go with this. I can't determine what parameters you would like to set, if indeed a homestead exemption would be something that you're interested in. And as I said, you need to know the basics before you can determine the parameters, if at all.
Is this the basics? Is this report basic?
But the revaluation, it's going to be basic. I'm going to give a few examples. I have cherry picked out some values just by way of example without endorsing anything. So at least the council understands completely what this is all about. And then you can make your decisions there. I'm going to give it to you anyways, what I have. I've already written the thing, and so I said, I'm not going to stuff it in my desk drawer. But it's going to be qualified with the things we've discussed. The reval is a qualification. The lack of stability is a qualification. The need for the council to define the exemption is a qualification. So the complete report would come after what you're referring to, Kate, and that is more so the impact is going to come after you define the parameters. If you say that everyone should get a exemption of 20%, well, that's a significant parameter. If you say properties of $500,000 or less should get a 10% exemption, that's a parameter. So it's the council ultimately makes a policy decision as to how to move forward. My job is to give you the backbone of the information. And then there's actually two parts of it. Once you make that policy decision as to how you want to move forward, then I have to fill in the blanks as to dollar values and impacts and how the money shifts. With the additional aspect of the revaluation is a complete unknown. We're predicting, as I said, the need to shift some commercial money onto a group onto the residential rate, because we got to make the money up somewhere. And if you recall, we had no tax increase this year. We had some deficient programs this year as a result of that. We made some budget cuts in FY20 before FY21 came to bear. So there's a big bucket here that we have to consider and we have to work with. And these are all little aspects of it.
Okay, Councilor Ferrante?
Yes, is there any way that the council can ask the solicitor about citizens? Would he be able to answer that for us? I just want to make sure that we just don't.
Well, I guess my point is that here, all the counselors are asking questions. We don't have the information in front of us. I have no problems with the report. I have no problems with the workshop. I think the workshop probably would be a better place because we'll be informed. We'll have people that will be giving us information. And I think that's the time really that we should have the participants. If Mr. Bean is, the other solicitor is there and wants to weigh in on it, certainly they can, but I think we need more information before we start, because there's a lot of people that would be asking questions that, quite frankly, look at the council, we're all asking questions about it. Angela, Councilor McCalla.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna yield the floor for a second back to Councilor Fuerte's original question to the solicitor.
Okay.
Yes. So this is not a public hearing, so there isn't an actual right of the public to be called upon. It is really up to, I think, on this type of resolution, up to the chair. However, I on one end, I would just point out that there is going to be a public workshop on this. I would assume that people would be able to comment, but the other thing I would say is we're spending a lot of time discussing this, and maybe if there was only one person who wanted to talk, maybe it would move the matter along. So to talking them up, to give advice more on a practical vein rather than legal, would be my comments. But there isn't a absolute right or a legal right for the public to comment on this issue.
Okay,
Thank you for that clarity.
I'm sorry, Councilor Vogt.
Thank you. And thank you to the city solicitor. I just want to reiterate, I think that, even though it's not a public hearing, I do think it's beneficial for the council to hear from the public whenever they do have comments. And I really think that it's a good precedent to set that we are always willing to hear from the public.
Okay. Are there any other comments
Madam Chair?
regarding the resolution?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to take a vote?
Councilor McCall's hand is up.
Yes, Councilor McCalla?
I just want to say that open public process is absolutely should be at the forefront for us. I feel like not giving the residents a voice to be able to express whatever they're feeling or whatever opinions, thoughts, stuff like that needs to be considered. And I feel, Chair, quite frankly, that you are silencing the voices. There are plenty of participants that are here. What's the big deal?
Because we're going to have a workshop, which is really the proper forum. Council is asking questions right now. We have had meetings that have gone on for hours at a time when we didn't have the information, when we were voting on resolutions. Public hearings are the time, truly, that the people should be speaking out. can speak out. They certainly have the opportunity, not on this docket, to talk about the homestead, but maybe the next docket, if it's not on our docket, to speak about homestead. You know, they could have done it at any time. We give it before the meeting. They have their time to speak. And it's not to, you know, we can take the one person that wants to speak. If that's what you want, the one person that wants to speak, we can certainly take that. But in the future, I think resolutions are things that council should be discussing. And then if there's further opportunity through a workshop or something else, that's the proper forum to have the public. And also they can use the newspapers, they can use the radio, they can use Twitter, they can use their accounts, they can use the North and anything to express their opinion. They can call the council members. Nobody's trying to oppress somebody from speaking. Councilor Underwood, Segley.
You know, I can understand that there is sort of a philosophical divide in all of this, and I think that this is where we should be debating this in the rules of the council in order to get it straightened out. So that's where I am.
Okay, thank you. We'll take the participant.
Bonnie Niskern.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I won't make any substantive comments except to say that there are many residents of Newport that support Councilor Bova's resolution. If I were able to talk in the first 3 minutes on this topic, I would have, but that is expressly excluded from your rules. And I don't know where I fell off a bus, but the last time I used to participate in city council meetings, the residents of the city were permitted to ask questions and to present opinions. That's my first concern, is that I feel increasingly that the residents are not being heard. Not on waterfront issues, not on COVID, and I could go down the list, but the homestead exemption has been dragging on for quite a long time. So I'm not going to talk about the substantive because, like you, it's a very complex issue, and I really appreciate Joe's explanation and Kate's explanation. I think so I'm saying there's a procedural issue that the council needs to address, as Lynn explained. But there also is an ethical issue. And I think that the city solicitor should advise anyone on the council who has a business interest in real estate, whether they might be running into some conflicts in their fiduciary duties. And on the one hand, and so Kate, I'm not gonna, Kate, your experience is invaluable. However, you need to look at your fiduciary duties. I don't know the answer to that, but it's something that really the city solicitor should advise you on. I will stop now, but as you can tell, I'm not happy with the discussion that just went on because it's city council procedures that I used to remember years ago, and I find this very disappointing.
Thank you. Yes, Counselor?
I'm going to answer. My fiduciary responsibility is to the citizens of Newport and those who voted for me. So I take that extremely seriously. And for any suggestion that I'm not doing that is certainly uncalled for, because part of my responsibility is to make sure that people understand what we're doing and to make sure everybody's treated fairly, which I go overboard to do, because that's how many calls and texts and emails I get every day to show that that's what I do. So I found that kind of insulting.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the resolution?
Counselor
Madam-
Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. A resolution regarding equitable development workshop.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Councilor McCalla, please.
Okay, I'm just going to read part of the resolution. So, whereas the mixed innovation land use designation within the North End Urban Plan to achieve the city's long-sought innovation hub is located in the North End, surrounding the existing Pell Bridge ramp right-of-way, with the intent, as stated in the comprehensive land use plan, to support the development of incubator accelerator type businesses focused on resilience, climate change, ocean, alternative energy systems, defense, underwater, maritime, and cybersecurity and digital industries. Their support subsectors associated training and job creation center, as well as ancillary financial, commercial, and retail hospitality support services. And whereas there are serious concerns as to how the implementation of the North End Urban Plan will impact the adjacent residential neighborhoods and accomplish equitable development. And whereas residents and community stakeholders have hired Smart Growth America, a national nonprofit dedicated to creating equitable and sustainable communities, to assist the North End community in encouraging economic growth while ensuring accessibility and social equity. And whereas smart growth approaches to development can help address longstanding environmental, health, and economic disparities adversely affecting low-income, elderly, and disabled residents of the area impacted by the North End Plan. And whereas the North End Urban Plan's implementation through policy and other practices in City Hall will be overseen by both the City Council and the Planning Board, now therefore be it resolved, the City Administration will schedule a workshop to be held for the City Council and Planning Board for the first week in February to receive input from Smart Growth America's senior leadership, including SGA CEO Calvin Gladney, Christopher Coase, Beth Osborne, and Chris Zimmerman regarding encouraging economic growth while ensuring accessibility and social equity. I really just drafted this resolution because as the resolution stated, that both residents and community stakeholders have hired a consultant called Smart Growth America. And I just think as we're moving towards this North End Urban Plan, I thought it was a good idea for the council as well as the planning board to get a formal introduction so that we can get a little more detail into the plans of these consultants. They are planned to be here for a total of 18 months. And, you know, I just thought it was a good idea that we have a formal introduction. I want to be clear that no recommendations will be made at this time, like at the time of the workshop. It's just a way to get to know who these consultants are. And Madam Chair, I move passage.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion second, discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the roll?
Madam Chair, some of us, Councilor Leonard and I both have our hands up.
Look, where are you guys? Sorry. Okay.
Councilor Leonard has her hand up first.
Okay, Councilor Leonard.
Okay, I'm
Thank
kind of confused here. We have spent as a city months and months and months, hired a consultant to do the North End Plan. We had meetings for residents and stakeholders. It's an important subject that we need to move forward with. We've done this, the city planner has done all this, and I'm confused because I read in this that residents and community stakeholders have hired Smart Growth America. I don't know who hired them. and what the goal is. All I know is the city has been ready to vote now on this North End plan, and we've waited a long time to get here. And now it seems like we're kind of making a stop to allow another group to come in. And I don't know if it's just for introductions or what the goal is, but I'm concerned about moving forward. That's really important to the city of Newport economically, for residents, and all of these elements that our city planner has looked at. And we had meetings and workshops, and the consultant did all this. Where were they for the past several months? Why is this now? Am I missing something to help me?
So the reality of the situation is, overall, what was most pressing, there were lots of residents that had attended the meetings and have been following the plans for the North End urban plan. And one of the biggest questions that the residents really are advocating for are the impact that it has on our neighborhoods. Yes, economic development is good, and yes, it's what we desire. But when we talk about economic development, you have to understand that there may be two meanings that are associated with it. The first is in what you described, and the second is there are some in the community that also, when people hear economic development, they think gentrification, they think they're going to be displaced, and where did they fit in this world?
Wasn't that part of all of these discussions when we had public comments?
So what I understood from MBBJ was that they were tasked with the architecture and the feel of the North End, to put some type of visualization, but it didn't necessarily address the impacts and how we can think about how we're going to talk about the residents and making sure that we are protecting our most vulnerable.
All right, so let me go one step further. We say that the Growth Smart Growth America has been hired by whom?
So the HES, as well as I believe church community, has all tethered together in a resident-led focus group so that's pretty much my knowledge of the whole situation, which again can be further addressed in a workshop.
I'm just troubled that it's taken so long for this to come out when we had such a long public process. I mean, it's like last minute, wait a minute, we want another group to come in. And I don't mean to be blunt or cold about it, but where have they been?
I think as city councilors, we are tasked with doing our due diligence and making sure that we are considering everything in all aspects. And the reality is, this is very much resident driven. People want to feel that they are protected and that there is a way for us to essentially engross economic development and have equity. This is not a new concept. This has been talked about for a really long time. I think the earliest that I found was 1965. And quite frankly, when we're talking about equitable development, this is a discussion or communities throughout the nation are now starting to do this and rethink how they're approaching situations. But to be clear, this is just one step, one workshop, the workshop for just an introduction. I think it would behoove us as overseers to be able to just make sure we should know who these people are, and we should bring our questions to them and understand that. Because Kate, your question's valid too, right? Like, what does this mean for the North End urban plan? Does this hold up? These are all questions that should be asked from the consultant.
I mean, I would be happy to be introduced to this group, but I think it's a little late to say, stop what we're gonna do for the North End.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Help me.
All I'm asking for is,
For an introduction, or is this to listen for more public comment that somehow people feel was lacking when, you know, we had all these meetings?
can you repeat the question? I don't understand what you're trying to ask me.
Is this so people could come and say, okay, we had all these meetings, but we didn't feel we were heard? Or is it just to be introduced to this group? I mean, because they're two different things.
So the meeting that I'm talking about on the resolution is just an introduction. I cannot speak, I am not the expert in the room in terms of the consultants in regards to their goals and initiatives. That's why I am asking for a council meeting so that so all of us, including the public, are able to ask the necessary questions.
Because what I would like to know is, why do they want a meeting? Because maybe the reasons are valid and I would vote for it. But not to know why they want it is a different story. Because then in my head, we're kind of flowing down the train that's trying to get to the station.
Councillor Segley?
Thank you. I can understand having a workshop to introduce us to this group. My concerns, though, would be what are the city's responsibilities in this? We've already invested a lot of money into these plans. And also, you know, I would just hate to see anything impede our progress on the North End urban plan. But it seems to me that this is something that, you know, would drill down a little bit further down into the North End urban plan. At least that's my impression of this. So, you know, I would be interested in certainly hear what they have to say. I'm just concerned in, you know, the cost to the city and also what it would, the burden it would put on our city employees. Those are the questions that I would have.
Again, Councillor Segley, I would say that those are valid, and it's not something I can necessarily answer for you. I don't know if, Kate, to your point, in terms of asking the residents why, I mean, we certainly have residents here tonight. I'm wondering if they're going to be allowed to speak.
I guess who asked you to put it on the docket? Because maybe that'll help me.
The residents.
Which residents? I mean, I don't get it. Because the
So-
residents spoke at all of the stakeholders meetings.
So I would actually ask that there are some residents that could actually speak. So can we get residents to speak? Are we able to do that?
We're going to have the council first, okay?
Okay.
But Kate, what I will say is that Angela and I have had extensive conversations about this, the exact questions, and it's really for an introduction. Smart growth is known throughout the United States.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't find it unusual, but I do think that we do need more information, and that's why. But what I will say is that we have the ordinances coming up for the North End urban plan at our next meeting. I don't believe those are going to be affected. I would hope not. And if we thought they were, then it would be, you know, in my view, after all this work on in all these different plans, it wouldn't feel right. I think they certainly should have, if they've offered to speak to us, they're working with HES. It's not directly with the city, it's with another group. And they want to inform us and let us know what kind of activities they've done and what they can do and how they can improve things. So personally,
If improvement even needs to be
Yeah.
done.
right. But that was, Angela and I did have that conversation. Counselor Holder.
Yes, thank you. I would like to see on this resolution a sort of time frame. Obviously, we're starting to get short on time, so I'd like to see when they want this workshop done. Is it, next week, the week after? But obviously, it has to be done sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
It's the first week of February. It's in the resolved.
And I just want to be clear that,
We need like a specific date.
well, I left that up to city administration to figure that out. I mean, I wasn't going to be very specific. I wanted to give the administration some leeway in terms of the first week, whatever day was possible.
They met with the city planner?
Yes.
Okay.
Counselor
Yeah.
Boca?
Thank you. I think that, it would be really beneficial for all of us to sit down with the folks from Smart Growth, if only to help educate us further on, how we can be more attentive to ensuring social equity and accessibility while we pursue economic development. It's definitely a concern for a lot of residents that they could be displaced, and helping us understand that concern further can only help us serve the residents better. And I think that Smart Growth has a ton of knowledge that they can provide us with, and we can, I think it's more than possible to kind of do things in parallel, in which we are, talking with Smart Growth and understanding some of the resident concerns in terms of equity and not being displaced, and learning how we as a council can better serve the economic development that we're pursuing, and also still be working on the North End Urban Plan. I don't think that passing this and scheduling a resolution in February is hitting, the bright red stop button on the North End Urban Plan in any way. I don't think it's the intention. It's not my intention in voting for it to have that be the case, but it is my intention to, take the time to sit down and understand how we can be more equitable in our pursuit of economic development. And I'm very much in favor of it. I think it will be beneficial to all of us and to the residents and to the staff who, as Councilor McCalla said, have been already discussing and meeting with the team from Smart Growth. So I think that this is a good resolution, and I intend to vote to approve it.
Okay. Counselor Leonard?
Oh, I just wanted to ask the city manager if since our planner met with this group, is she in favor of continuing the discussion so that the rest of us can talk to this group and get introduced? Or, I just kind of like to know feedback.
I've been on the phone with them as well, and I've reviewed other plans they've done, and the more education we get on anything, the better. So Trish is not going to frown upon, Trish and Peter Friedrichs are not going to frown upon listening further and getting educated further.
Right.
We share the same concerns that all of you are expressing. The North End Urban Plan is important. The inertia with it is very important to the city as a whole. But this is something a little different that is a complementary exercise. And as Angela's indicated, this is simply an introduction.
Yeah.
I think that the goal for every one of us has been, should be, and will be to help everybody who lives in this town have as good a lifestyle and as possible. I mean, I just think that's what we want for our citizens, for people to feel that they belong and live in a place where they are happy and you know, I understand it. I just sometimes the process seems to be a yo-yo that goes up and down instead of a straight road.
I certainly think having an introduction with them could be very informative for the council and very positive for the community. So I would be supporting this. Is there any other discussion on the council? Hearing none, clerk, can you take the roll?
I'm sorry, can we just have resident input, Jean? Councilor,
Okay.
Mayor Napolitano?
Yeah. 3 minutes. Mr. Belden?
Hello, everybody. This is Christian Belden. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm the Executive Director of Church Community Housing Corporation. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes to speak on this. I just wanted to try to respond to Councilor Leonard's questions about why now, why not earlier. The reason is that while there was a fairly extensive public input process that occurred during the preparation and development phase of the North End Urban Plan, that's different from being able to respond to a plan once it's been created. And so that's why now, because while residents had input during the data gathering and plan development phase, it's only after a plan has been created that you can respond to it, that you can react to it, and that's what's happening. That being said, the residents' reactions were expressed during the planning board hearings, and that resulted in several amendments being made that acknowledged the potential for displacement the plan has, and also recommended that the city pursue countermeasures to prevent the displacement. And so that's one of the roles that this equitable development plan that Smart Growth America is proposing would be to help the city in terms of addressing those goals and strategies that the North End Urban Plan has laid out. And furthermore, it's a related but separate process. So it shouldn't hold up the North End Urban Plan because it's work that needs to be done, work that is related to the development of the North End, but it is a separate proposal with the Newport Health Equity Zone. And so I think it's something that the HES and Smart Growth America hope that the city will be interested in cooperating and collaborating on, but it's a separate process. And so I understand, that the North End Urban Plan has been underway and, is where it's at in terms of completion and adoption. And I would say that, I don't see any reason why this new process would delay that process. They're related, but they are different.
Thank you. And Bonnie Niskren, please. Good.
Yes. I don't know where to start. Okay, I'll just say one thing. I am puzzled by the requirement or the perceived need that we drag out the homestead issue, the homestead exemption issue. But we seem to need to rush through the North End plan. I am an attorney with 40 years experience, and my comments are simply ones of procedure and ethics. I am not here to insult any particular counselor. And I think that if I were sitting on a board, I know that, and there's people on this call that I know that I have recused myself. Sitting on a board, if I have a business interest, I recuse myself. And I think that that needs to be looked at with respect to any voting on this council on any matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to vote? Clerk, can you take the roll call, please?
Yes, Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 17.08 entitled Definitions, Section 17.08.012 Definitions.
Yes, Madam Chair and Council, this is the definitions portion of the marijuana ordinance that we are discussing, and I'm just going to read that what is being added in this second reading. It's unchanged from the last meeting. Add marijuana retail facility means any facility that dispenses or sells marijuana, including but not limited to retail stores, compassion centers, and emporiums / vape lounges. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. I move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second, discussion? Yes, Counselor Bova.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to understand so Counselor Segley, you read it as unchanged from the last meeting, correct? I know you just said that.
Just the definition portion is unchanged, but
Okay.
the other portions are changed with the sunset clause.
So I think that we have to make an amendment. Could you, City Solicitor, I'm sorry, could you?
If I could jump in, the excuse me, the definition portion doesn't need to be amended, because all it does is define, it has a new definition in the code for marijuana retail facility.
Right.
So it's the other ones we had, the next 4 ones.
Right. That we added the sunset clause that, and upon first reading, we approved knowing that a sunset clause would be put in, so.
I apologize, thank you.
That's okay. That's all right. Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second, discussion? Hearing none. All, clerk, can you take the roll call?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 17.52 entitled Limited Business District, Section 17.52.020 Use Regulations.
Yes, Madam Chair and Council, this has to do with the limited business district. And I will read the ad in lieu of, therefore, the following. Stores where goods are sold or services rendered primarily at retail, but not including a retail, a marijuana retail facility. And then section 2 would be changed to, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and remain in effect until July 15th, 2021, at which time the language, quote unquote, but not including a marijuana retail facility, shall be repealed, and remaining language of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. I move approval.
May I jump in?
Sure.
This is a zoning amendment. So it deals with zoning. So it's been advertised. So I take it that that's an amendment being made to the ordinance at first reading. So we have to open it up, the public hearing on that, for any comment on that amendment.
Okay.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment?
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing, the public comment.
Hearing.
Is there a second?
here.
A second.
Second.
There's a motion second to close the public, clerk
Hearing.
take roll, public hearing.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Just to close the public hearing, aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Do I have to make an amendment? I mean, Chris, can you just help me out with that?
Well, I think you pretty much did make an amendment. I think, Jamie, did you seconded that last one? Was that when she read that new language? Was there
I
a second?
think that I seconded it then, but I would have to have the clerk double check. I'm sorry.
I think before you have a proposed amendment to the ordinance on first reading. We just opened it up for a public hearing. Public hearing's been closed, so I think you need to now vote on the amendment, and then you'll have to vote on the ordinance as amended.
Okay.
Sorry, it's going to be cumbersome.
Okay, so just for my own clarity, first we'll vote to amend the amendment to include.
You're voting to approve the amendment that Lynn just made.
And then we'll vote again.
Yeah, on the ordinance as amended.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a motion to approve the amendment.
Second.
Is a motion and second discussion? Hearing none, can we have a vote?
I have this is the amendment with the sunset clause.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, what I'm gonna say is, we had letters from the Newport County Prevention Coalition. We had a letter from Aaron Donovan Boyle from the Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce, both opposing the legalization of marijuana. And what I think, if I just have to go back, and asking us to oppose a distribution center in Newport, correct?
Yeah.
Right? So I would vote, my vote is to oppose the amendment and to be in the original form based on what these two letters state for our community. They came from very valid organizations that are asking us to do that, and especially the one from the Newport County Prevention Coalition. So I'm just saying, if you're going to vote for this amendment, I'm going to vote no unless it's in its original form.
I think this is the dilemma, Kate, that in the original form, we have, well, you're referring to what was provided to us by the,
We did one vote.
by planning and zoning officials, the first one, where we wanted to totally eliminate.
Exactly.
Okay. The problem with that, as I understand it, is if we did, we could wind up in court.
Why?
That we have to have some sort of parameters on the books, which I think that's what Mr. Bean was attempting to do, to make some sort of, set up some sort of parameters where they could actually study it. What upsets me about this is that the planning board had this from last July. The day before our meeting, they sent us a letter and they gave us a number of reasons why they thought they should have more time to study this. You know, they didn't want us to approve this. I found out more about it, and I thank them for it, because what I found out is there is no financial benefit to the community
Correct.
other than the real estate tax that they could get on any business. I was told repeatedly when I was doing my research that, oh yeah, there's a community benefit, there's a community benefit. There is not.
Well, Mike, the question is, the city solicitor, are you telling us that we have to vote for this or we're going to go to court?
What I said is one of the options that was proposed is to extend the moratorium. And I said that is not the way to go. That could raise legal challenges which can be addressed. The same issues can be addressed by the enactment in your use of your legislative powers through ordinance. So where we're coming from, the last time you would have only, my understanding is Councilor Holder has recused himself. There are only 6 councilors voting. Last time there appeared to be 3 who were for it and 3 who were against it. The 3 that were against it were in favor if it had a sunset clause. So we passed it on first reading with the idea that I would come back with an amendment that might satisfy the 3 that were concerned about a permanent prohibition. So that's where basically where we're at. So I mean, what you have
Why did
before.
we vote on the first reading, the same thing, to see if there was a change in the vote?
Well,
That's up to that an amendment was made to this one at this time, so that's up to you as a body, that part of it. But the danger you do have with this is that whichever motion you make, if it fails, if both motions fail, one for the original motion and one for the amended, then there's going to have to be people who move to reconsider motions to get this back on the table, because otherwise you won't have no protection. So however you want to go about it is really up to the council.
Well, I guess I would say to the mayor that we still have a 3-3 vote, because that's key to kind
Means we have nothing in place to prevent
I know that.
back to state. So that's a dilemma. Yes, Councillor Segley.
Oh, no, oh, yes. You know what, I'm going to put my hand down because my
Okay.
question was already answered, sorry.
Councillor Bova.
thank you. I did just want to say that the reason for me for why I wanted to add the sunset clause was so that we had a little bit more time in case minds were changed. But I do believe that the planning department has a nearly ready study or package of some sort that they can give to us soon, that, you know, when we have that, we can make a decision on whether or not we want to remove or keep the sunset clause. I'm not explaining this properly. The planning department has put together some sort of assessment on having a facility of this sort in the city. And what having the sunset clause in the ordinance does is sort of force us to take the time to evaluate it while still being protected, like the solicitor was saying. And so I think that we are able to take the time to evaluate the package from the planning department and make those educated decisions and come to a larger agreement as a body and are still protected. And that's why I think it's a good way forward to have the sunset clause.
Okay. Councilor McCalla.
Yeah, I think I wanted to, I think that was my question is, or my concern was, is this, if we do a sunset clause, are we setting up the planning board, the planning department up for failure? And I was actually, I was going to ask Patricia Reynolds to maybe answer that.
Is our zoning officer,
Well, Trish is the director of economic development and planning. I think she's on, at least she's indicated.
I'm here, but can you hear me?
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
Angela, did you understand the question from Councilor?
I did. The way that I understood the question is if the planning department and the planning board feel that they can adequately prepare a report for the council's consideration of the marijuana uses in the city.
Yeah, if a sunset clause was enacted, would 6 months be a feasible time for the research and development? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, thank you. We have already set up a working group that's been meeting regularly on this, and we do not have any concerns about making that 6 month deadline. We feel that we're very close to having something ready. We will be able to bring that forward for consideration, and there will be enough time to prepare the report, to consider it, and then for passage within that 6 months.
So just to be
So
clear,
thank you for considering that, but we do feel that we've already got a lot under our belt, and we are not concerned with the 6 month deadline.
okay? And just to be clear, this would just be a report that would then warrant further discussion on whether or not we should pursue the marijuana facility. Correct?
Well, we haven't actually formulated the whole report yet, but I think that it will include some ordinance language also.
Okay, for us to render a decision later on down the line. So I'm just saying it for clarification purposes for also the audience out there too. A marijuana facility will not be resurrected overnight, and further discussion is needed, is what I understand.
Thank you.
Right.
Councilor Segley.
Yes, I just wanted to just say that I understand Councilor Leonard's concerns about this, but I do think that this amendment is the most prudent way to go at this point when it comes to this in order to protect the city.
Councilor Leonard.
I just think the best way to protect the city is to vote no. It's as simple as that.
But if we vote no, Kate,
I
and it's
get it.
tied again, we have no
People don't.
protection at
I
all,
get it.
at all.
I'm just giving you my personal feeling is that we don't need a marijuana distribution center in Newport. That's my personal feeling. And from the phone calls I've received and the letters that we have on our docket, I'm not the only one. And it seems that this is the way to protect the city until we have at least 4 people who decide likewise.
Yes. Councilor McCalla.
Thank you. So I think that just like we've been elected to do our due diligence to make sure that we're doing our homework and considering all of the aspects. I don't know where this is going to lead. We may come to this conclusion 6 months down the line to say, no, it doesn't fit. But I am also concerned, as I've said before, that could we possibly be discriminating against a medically fragile population? I don't know. I think that the residents deserve to at least be able to have some type of structure or forum in which we can all have an open discussion about this and see what the strategy is, because I'm not a professional, marijuana facility person. I don't know what that looks like, but I do think that we owe it to the residents, to all of Newport, to make sure that we're doing our homework and we've exhausted all areas, strategy areas.
Thank you. Councilor Forte?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I agree with a lot that's being said here tonight. But it would also, give us a lot of opportunities to also find out what other resources are out there. We wrote this down. And in doing more and more research, we're finding out that there is, more help for that population that's vulnerable, that needs a compassion center, but there's resources and we don't know. So it's due diligence for us to vote wisely, but also be prepared to offer, if there is help for, other folks, if this is voted down or whatever happens. But I think the extension in time will make us make a wiser choice when it's time to vote for it.
Madam Chair, can we vote on this?
Well, I guess, is there anybody else that wants to address this matter at this time? I see one panelist.
Yeah, that was one. Mr. Camacho was trying to get in.
Is that who's on the line?
I can't see from here.
I can't see, it just says panelist.
Can you, I do see Marco Camacho has come up now.
Okay.
Hello, can everyone hear me or see me?
Yes, go ahead.
Just audio or visual?
This is audio.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I heard my name invoked. So members of council, thank you for calling on me. Marco Camacho, board chair of the Newport Prevention Coalition and vice chair of the Newport County Prevention Coalition. We, as you saw, the packet that we put in, and you had made a motion to receive earlier and read up on that. As members of the Prevention Coalition, we deal primarily with youth access to marijuana and trying to curb that. From a coalition standpoint, we do recognize that there is a debate happening right now between medical use and recreational use. So I don't think that there's a chasm between the three members of council that wanted to remove the amendment and the three members of council that wanted to add it on. And I would say that based on the conversations that we've been having at the coalition level. To give you an idea, we do have a draft position that's currently in the works that actually calls for the encouragement and the continued research on medicinal marijuana and any approval of medications through the Food and Drug Administration. Now, we do recognize that at the federal and state level, that there is a gap in policy of how to implement that, and what states are doing versus what the federal government is doing is creating a dilemma at the local level. We would certainly encourage the 6-month extension as you have on there, or the sunset clause. You can certainly revisit it after more information is given, and we stand by as a coalition to be able to give that to you. And again, we understand the dilemma with the retail side, because if this were medicinal cannabis that was approved at the FDA level, we wouldn't be talking about a compassion center. It would be a moot point, because your CVS's, your Walgreens, your Walmart drugstores would actually be selling it as FDA approved medications. So there is there is that gap, and there is a fear among the community, members of the community, that what starts as a compassion center, as a medical marijuana retail outlet, becomes, like Massachusetts has, a retail outlet for recreational use. And that opens up a completely different can of worms. So I will say, from a position of being the chair of the Newport Prevention Coalition, being a former counselor on the Newport City Council, I recognize the dilemma and offer to work directly with the council on this over the next 6 months prior to that sunset clause being enacted.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is there any other discussion by the council? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the roll call vote?
Counselor Bova.
Aye.
Counselor Segley.
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte.
Aye.
Counselor Holder, you're recused on this.
Yes.
Counselor Leonard.
Reluctantly, aye.
Counselor McCalla.
Aye.
And Mayor Bova. Mayor Napolitano, sorry.
Aye.
Freudian slip. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Second reading of an ordinance.
Oh, that was the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, so it's now you got to go to the ordinance as amended.
To approve
Okay.
ordinance as amended.
Second.
There's a motion second to approve the ordinance as amended. Clerk, take the votes, please.
Counselor Bova.
Aye.
Counselor Segley.
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte.
Aye.
Counselor Leonard.
Aye.
Counselor McCalla.
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you.
Second reading of an ordinance amending chapter 17.56 entitled Waterfront Business District. Its regulations.
I'm going to read the entire thing, and then I'm going to make a motion to amend. So this has to do with the waterfront business district. Stores where goods are sold or service is rendered primarily at retail, but not including a marijuana retail facility. You know what, I'm going to back up. I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. What has been deleted is stores where goods are sold or services is rendered primarily at retail, and add in lieu thereof the following: stores where goods are sold or service is rendered primarily at retail, but not including a marijuana retail facility. Section 2 says, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. And I'm going to make a motion to amend section 2 to this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and remain in effect until July 15th, 2021, at which time the language but not including a marijuana retail facility shall be repealed, and the remaining language of this ordinance shall remain in full effect. Motion to amend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second.
You gotta
Discussion?
open up to the public.
Yes, this is
Yeah,
a
See if
public.
there's any public comment.
Is there any public comment on this amendment?
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion second to close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Counselor Bova.
Aye.
Counselor Segley.
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte.
Aye.
Counselor Leonard.
Aye.
Counselor McCalla.
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Now we'll vote on the amendment. Right?
Yes,
As amended. Madam Clerk?
this is the amendment.
This is the amendment.
Counselor Bova.
Aye.
Counselor Segley.
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
and Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the votes.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 17.60 entitled General Business District Use Regulations.
Yes, this is section 17.020, the general business district. We will delete stores where goods are sold or services is rendered primarily at retail. Add in lieu of, therefore, the following: stores where goods are sold or services rendered primarily at retail, a marijuana retail facility. And I make a motion for the following, to strike section 2 and include an amendment. This is section 2, sorry. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. And I make a motion for this amendment. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and remain in effect until July 15th, 2021, at which time the language "but not including a marijuana retail facility" shall be repealed, and the remaining language of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak?
Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this amendment?
Motion to close the public hearing and approve the amendment.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the amendment. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take the vote?
We need to, I'm sorry, motion to close the public hearing. We need to vote on that first.
Move second.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli, Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
and Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to approve the amendment.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segli,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 17.64 entitled Commercial Industrial District Use Regulations.
Yes, this is about the commercial industrial district, and I will read the entire deleted portion and the amendment. Delete stores where goods are sold or services rendered primarily at retail, and add in lieu thereof the following: stores where goods are sold or services rendered primarily at retail, but not including a marijuana retail facility. Section 2 reads, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. And I'm going to make a motion to amend Section 2 to say, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and remain in effect until July 15th, 2021, at which time the language "but not including a marijuana retail facility" shall be repealed, and the remaining language of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak? Motion to close the public hearing. Take a vote to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Yeah. Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
A motion to approve the amendment.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the amended. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Counselor Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action number 5950.
Yes, Madam Chair and Council, this is a recommendation from Robert Schultz, the Deputy Utilities Director of Engineering. The Department of Utilities Water Division shall recommend the award of a contract for engineering services for the repair and rehabilitation of the 3 million gallon MG Reservoir Road Water Storage Tank Project number 21010 to Wright Pierce, Providence, Rhode Island, for an amount not to exceed $86,201. This project will be funded by the Water Capital Improvement Program. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, can you take?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Counselor Leonard.
2 questions. One, I spoke about it prior. I'd like to see the amounts of all bids when we
Not a
have
bid,
a
Kate.
contract, which you said you do. And
It's a
number 2,
qualification.
for certain, yeah,
For architects and engineers, this is a qualification. We're mandated by state law
yeah,
to conduct a qualification-based selection process.
Now
During the
this-
qualification-based selection process, you cannot include in that evaluated criteria pricing. You have
Correct.
to select based upon qualifications.
right.
However, with that said, other items that are outside of the qualification-based process as mandated by state law, we will provide pricing when it is a low bid circumstance.
Let me ask, and my
All right.
second question, who is the evaluation committee that does this?
I will let Mr. Schultz, who's the presenter on this, interrupt me, but if he can unmute himself, but it generally is the professional staff, Mr. Schultz, Julia Forge, and the like. But Rob, if you're there somewhere, could you
I'm
answer
here.
that question?
Rob Schultz, Deputy Director. On this one, it was myself and the Director Forge, as well as input from the Distribution Supervisor, Joe Roque.
Okay, so you all discuss and evaluate what the RFP was for and whether, and you basically give the points for the evaluation that you've conducted, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you take the vote?
Counselor Bova,
Aye.
Counselor Segley,
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte,
Aye.
Counselor Holder,
Aye.
Counselor Leonard,
Aye.
Counselor McCalla,
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action number 5951.
Yes, this is a recommendation from the Department of Public Services. It recommends approval of a supplemental contract agreement with DBVW Architects of Providence, Rhode Island, in accordance with Section X of the subject contract in order to provide architectural and structural engineering services to assess 3 buildings at the Easton's Beach Complex in the not to exceed amount of $20,500. Section 3 term of agreement is further recommended to be extended to June 30th, 2022 to accommodate these work items, and this fiscal impact is currently budgeted. I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion, second discussion. Councilor Leonard.
Didn't we study this before 2 or 3 times?
This is a structural assessment that we need to do yesterday. The slab underneath the carousel and the like is deteriorating quickly. We need to know what we need to know yesterday. So we got to get.
Because it's falling apart.
That's my point. We need to know what we need to do to shore up and to prevent any issues with this.
But
So,
didn't we study it before and we didn't follow through?
I'll let Mr. Riccio, I mean, years ago, I think, most likely, but Mr. Riccio is on the line somewhere here. Bill, if you can unmute yourself and comment.
Yeah, the last report we did, I believe, was in 2018, but we have a budgeting process that things always don't make it into the budget. So unfortunately, it's gotten to a point that we need to possibly take action on one of these structures, but we need to figure out for capital programming purposes that's coming into the budget, the next budget we're working on, and to get the most current information, because things keep deteriorating, which means that costs keep changing to repair.
So wait a minute, let me just get this right. We studied it in 2018. We knew everything was going badly. We didn't put it in the budget. It's worse. We're gonna now spend more money to study it again to see.
We're not studying again. They're going to look at the study and they're going to relook at existing conditions versus all of the detail in the report to refine numbers to help us come with more realistic expectations of dollar amounts to make improvements.
All right, let's hope it moves forward.
Well, it's going to be a primary topic of the January 20th budget workshop, in which we're going to zero in on this. In addition to that, we have placed money in the CIP for the upcoming CIP for this upcoming budget, a significant amount of money to move in on this facility. But right now, what this is going to address is some things that are somewhat emergent that we just need to get a hold of in a very quick fashion. It's going to help us in the future as well. But we are going to talk about this at length at the January 20th workshop as well.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other discussion? Excuse me, hearing none. Clerk, read the roll.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segli?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action number 5952.
Yes, the Madam Chair and Council, the ITC recommends that Chapter 10.52 of the City of Newport's codified ordinances be amended as follows. 10.52.010, no through streets listed, signs required. Upon the following streets and parts of streets, no through commercial buses and trucks with a tar weight in excess of 5,500 pounds shall be permitted, and sufficient signs shall be erected and maintained by the city to provide adequate notice to motorists. And this will be at Leal Terrace. This has no fiscal impact.
Second.
I move approval.
Okay.
There's a motion and second discussion. Hearing none.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor McCallum.
I just have a quick question. Well, first I wanted to say thank you to the ITC for making a recommendation. It was certainly one of the things that we had addressed in regards to our resolution. Also, just wanted to ask a follow-up question. Bill, I know that there was discussion about perhaps piloting or taking some funds from some reserves money to maybe pilot or at least explore some traffic calming measures. And I just wanted to see if you had a follow-up with that, or at least how's it going?
That, as you recall, I think it was I believe it was this December meeting that the contract with Beta Engineering was ratified by the council. So we don't have anything to report, but it is moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action number 5953.
Yes, the ITC recommends that Chapter 10.52 of the City of Newport Codified Ordinances be amended as follows. No through streets signs required upon the following streets and parts of streets. No through commercial buses and trucks with a tar weight in excess of 5,500 pounds shall be permitted, and sufficient signs shall be erected and maintained by the city to provide adequate notice to more motorists. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I've got the wrong one. I'm sorry. I got distracted. I apologize. The ITC recommends that Chapter 10.32 of the City of Newport's Codified Ordinances be amended as follows. The following streets are designated as residential parking streets daily during the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And we will add Marchant Street from Atlantic Street to East North Road. And there is no fiscal impact. My apologies, and I move to approve.
Second. There's a motion and second discussion. Councilor Leonard.
This is very, very helpful. Thank you. I did get a couple calls from Marchant Street yesterday asking me if the city looked at the ability for fire and rescue to be able to go on Marchant Street when parking's allowed on both sides of the street. So I'm just passing that forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action number 5954.
Yes, Madam Chair and Council, the Department of Public Services recommends approval of a 3-year agreement, including 3 additional 1-year option years with Duckett's Incorporated of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and Longaid Incorporated of Middletown, Rhode Island, to lease and operate existing Easton's Beach second-floor snack bar pavilion, as well as operate up to 3 food carts or mobile retail food concessions operations on the boardwalk as described in RFP 21-013. I move approval.
Second.
Second.
The motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. Councilor Leonard.
Aye.
Oh, you took your hand down.
No, I didn't have it up.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, clerk, take the roll, please.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segli?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn as council and convene as Board of License Commissioners.
Second.
There's a motion and second to adjourn as council and serve as licensed commissioners. Proceed.
Counselor Bova?
Aye.
Counselor Segli?
Aye.
Counselor Fuerte?
Aye.
Counselor Holder?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it. A public hearing on the application of Griswold's Inc., DBA Griswold's Tavern, 103 to 105 Bellevue Avenue, holder of a Class B alcoholic beverage license, to transfer ownership to Robin Realty LLC, Michael Shore 50%, and Emily Leventhal 50%, DBA to be determined for the same premises.
Okay, this is a hearing? Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this issue? Is there anybody on the council that would like to address this issue? Yes, Councilor Leonard.
We got a memo from the solicitor regarding this, and it seems that the property ownership is not related to the business, and that, in fact, it would really be like leasing, if I want to make sure I got it right, like leasing a liquor license, which is prohibited in the ordinances. So I would like the solicitor to comment on that, please, because if it's not legal for us to do this by ordinance, we should not be approving it.
No, well, no, the concern that I just expressed is that the council has sent my office and the clerk's office directives about liquor license holders who are not operating, and you wanted quarterly reports on those who are holding licenses and have not yet operated. The licenses have not been issued. When I looked at this, I did not see an indication. I suggested to the council maybe inquire of the transferee. Are they going to operate under this license? If not, what are their plans for this? The only thing I suggested is that it looks like it may be the transferee related to the owner, and it could be the situation where the owner is using the license in with a leasing of property,
Right.
Leasing of property at their property, the leasing of a unit, a commercial unit. I did not suggest it was that they were necessarily doing something, planning to do something illegal. I told you that leasing of a license is illegal,
Right.
but a lot of owners of property might transfer the license to their commercial tenant and hold a security interest in it. So there are reasons for them to do it that way, but I just wanted the council to be aware that potentially this could be another licensee who is not going to operate, but we don't know that, and I suggested that you inquire of the transferee.
Okay, so I am now inquiring.
Madam Chair, Turner Scott is an attendee and he'd like to speak.
Okay. Mr. Scott?
Madam Mayor and members of the council, my name is Turner Scott. I put a tie on because I thought I might be on the
Zoom
picture here, but I guess I'm not.
I have a different number.
I represent the owner of the building, which is Stonehenge Partners. Stonehenge Partners took the building over with a long-term lease to the present owned Griswold's Tavern and Mr. Madden. Mr. Madden closed when the pandemic started, and Robin Realty is a separate entity, a separate LLC. Their intention is to run the license themselves, hire a manager on the license themselves, or if they find someone to lease the property, to transfer the license to the lessee. We understand, and they understand the importance of, as Mr. Bean has said, the importance of the person who is running the business be responsible for the liquor license. We're not leasing the license to anybody. We would transfer the license if, my clients would transfer the license if they found somebody to run the license. Right now, running a license, you can't have anything outside. You can have maybe 6 tables. It's probably not economically feasible. When the pandemic breaks, either we'll have somebody lease the premises and we'll transfer the license to that person, or my clients will hire a manager and run the business themselves.
Mr. Solicitor, I have a question, and then I think some council members have a question.
Sure.
Can you, can this entity, Robin Realty, transfer a license to a holder that would run that kind of operation? And if the holder of that operation didn't make it, have it transferred back to this owner?
Well, yes, because even though leasing of a license is specifically prohibited by statute,
yeah,
the Rhode Island Supreme Court has recognized that the holder of the license who transfers it can hold a security interest in it. So
okay.
if that entity defaulted on their lease,
Right.
such as didn't pay their rent, maybe didn't pay for the license, maybe there were arrangements to pay for the license over a period of time,
Yeah.
then they could hold a security interest and get the license back. So that's why I suggested that, there'd be some inquiry what they intended to do.
Right. And who is liable for that license? Would it be Robin Realty or whomever they transferred it to? I'm referring to specifically liquor liability.
It would be, well, the fact that they have, in my opinion, the fact that only the license holder would be responsible to the city itself in terms of the holder of the license. In terms of general liability or more specific liability like liquor liability, I would say it's the license holder. The other, if Robin Realty only had a security interest in it and had transferred it, that's the limit of their liability, is something associated with that security interest.
Okay.
So that is allowed under Rhode Island law. In this particular case, they're saying that they will either operate it themselves or they will transfer it to someone else who will operate it. And they're suggesting that COVID is causing some issues here. So it's, you do have an explanation from Mr. Scott, and it's, if that's what you're satisfied with, then that's fine.
Okay. Councilor McCallum?
Sorry. My question is for Turner. Turner, does it seem like there's any perspective for transfer happening anytime soon? Do you have any prospective people?
Ms. McCall, if you have somebody who wants to buy a restaurant in the middle of COVID-19, let me know who it is. You have a couple of licenses out there that people are trying to sell right now. You've got to first of all, you have to find a place for a license. And secondly, you have to be able to pay the money and be able to pay the amortization or whatever it is for that payment. Right now, nobody's open in restaurants. We had somebody that we thought would be able to come in and we'd be able to rent it on a long-term basis for and be able to transfer the license to them. And that didn't work out because that license, especially if you noticed, that license is right up against the Elks Hall. There's no outside ability. You can't even put sidewalk tables out there. So you're limited to probably 6 tables in that whole place. So I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is that my clients, if when the pandemic breaks and they haven't found somebody, they're going to open it themselves. They'll find a manager. We'll find a manager and open it up. That place is Griswold was not being really successful. It had its run. I mean, I studied at the bar 44 years ago when it was TJ's. And then they transferred it to Harry's. Then they opened up and bought the store next door and expanded it to Harry's 102 and then it 3 and then it went to Griswold's. It's never been a really rousing success. My client would like to have a rousing success there, obviously, but we don't have it right now. But if you can find somebody that wants to buy a restaurant, we'll be glad to talk to them.
Okay, Turner, I may be a little slow on the uptake, but explain to me again, why is this important for them to transfer this right now? Like, what's the urgency?
You can't have a floating license. There's no urgency. Griswold stopped. The license goes back. The license under the lease agreement would be going back to my clients, who are now the owners of the property. So there's no urgency, but you can't have a license floating. I mean, I don't want a license to float. I want a license to be in somebody's hands. Right now, the license is in Griswold's hands. Unless you let my client transfer it to them. I'm a little, we've been through these liquor license issues before. You don't want a floating license. And so Griswold's is not open. So what is that so is my client just going to let the license close? He's got a restaurant in there. He's got dishwashers. He's got stoves, ovens, Ansel systems. He's got a bar in there. He's got all the stuff to run a restaurant, but he needs somebody has to own the license at that location.
But also, how does that make sense when you're still, because the other side that you explained too is even with the transfer, you don't have any like prospective people coming in the pipeline, which you just said to me too, like, good luck trying to find somebody, good luck with trying to find someone to buy a restaurant right now during COVID. So like, isn't it going to result in it floating anyway?
No, my client will take the license. It'll be in their names, Mr. Shores and Miss Leventhal under the entity of Robin Realty LLC, an active LLC in Rhode Island. And as I said, they'll run it themselves. They'll find a manager and run it themselves rather than if and when they can make a profit on it. There's a number of licenses that aren't open right now. So it's not, you hold a license, just because you hold a license doesn't mean you have to be open.
Oh.
And they'd like to be open, but they're not going to open so they can have a full staff there and have a full kitchen and have 2 tables.
But,
and they'll open the restaurant when they find a manager, or if they find somebody that wants to come in and rent that spot, what they'll do is they'll transfer the license to that person and they'll take a security interest, as Mr. Bean has indicated.
But I think that my concern would be that you've got this liquor license that's like up for grabs, and I'm worried that we might be inadvertently kind of encouraging some type of brokering of some sort for the liquor license coming through. And that would be my concern.
Well, what do you mean by brokering the license? You mean like selling it to somebody else and having it move somewhere else?
Yes.
You know that, and I tell you, you've got an owner of a piece of property that has a full kitchen, a full bar, an Ansel system, plates, silverware, tables, chairs. What's he going to do? He's going to have to run a restaurant. That place has been a restaurant for 50 years. He's not going to broker that license to somebody else. And if he did want to broker it, it's going to be like the Hope license.
Yeah.
And nobody's buying the Hope license. At least nobody's come up forward yet on buying the Hope license. So, and then you've got, what other license you got hanging out there? You've got, you have the license from the run line that, as I've explained and as I've given quarterly reports, and I think probably even monthly reports, Mr. Bean's probably tired of hearing from me, reports about what's going on at the transfer for that run line license. And there's one other license that I can't remember which one it is, but my client doesn't want to broker it. He wants to put it in that location. He owns that property. A license has been there for 50 years. I can't understand your concern, Ms. McCall, to tell you the truth. I just don't understand where the problem is.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. And again, I'm just asking questions. It's not meant to be adversarial in any way. It's just really for clarification purposes.
I just want to jump in. I mean, you are, I mean, Mr. Scott has given a explanation that we were looking for, but Ms. McCalla, your concerns are valid, because I would disagree with Mr. Scott's statement that there's no requirement that a license be, I think he said something to the effect of be operated. That's wrong. Actually, even the commercial licensing laws address licenses that are approved but not issued. But in any event, I think in this case, there has been an explanation. In this case, there is a situation where he does have an actual restaurant there, and more than likely he will attempt to operate under the license. So, but the concerns of the council about these licenses is germane and important, I think.
Councilor Holder, do you still have a question? You got on?
Yeah, well, my quick question was, correct me if I'm wrong, attorney, you probably could help me out. So if this license gets transferred, this basically resets the clock give them the amount of time to use or find a use for the license. So it's technically not a floating license.
It's not a floating, it wouldn't be a floating license. It'd be a license attached to that location to Robin Realty LLC. It's not a floating license, a license at that location.
Yeah, but our concerns, Turner, are not just with floating licenses. There are concerns with licenses that are issued, that are approved but not issued. In other words, they're not operating. So the floating license terminology has been kind of inclusive of both those situations. The ones without a location and the ones that are not operating a business.
Right.
So,
my client intends to, as I've indicated, my client intends as soon as it is economically reasonable, my client will open up the business if he doesn't have somebody to transfer the license to.
Meg.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that what Mr. Scott is saying does make some sense. I mean, realistically, the Robin Realty purchased the building that Griswold's was in, and they purchased all of the assets inside of it, and it makes sense for them to want to transfer the license as well. And I think that, given some of the discussion that we've had here and the circumstances, I think that we can be, that we can give them a little bit of time to figure it out. I would want to have the same restrictions or whatever that we've placed on the other licenses that are not currently open, where we get that feedback and those updates from this one as well. And I know that Mr. Scott represents some of the other license holders who are in a similar situation. So I think that he'd be more than able to provide those updates in this instance as well.
I just would like to say, in this environment in particular, be very difficult to even find somebody that would want to operate with all the restrictions that are out there. It's next to impossible to expect that. I just wanted to know about the liability, the transfer issues, that sort of thing. I feel more comfortable now that Mr. Turner has explained, what's going on. And I'm certain that once we're in a better economic situation, that they could easily find somebody that maybe would want to operate the small restaurant with all the facilities already intact. Is there any other oh, Kate,
Just
Counselor.
one more question. It's kind of repetitive.
Yeah.
So if we allow the transfer, how long can they hold it if they can't, it's not economically feasible to operate? And if they can't find anybody to rent the building, which is probably true in these times. So how long can that sit? I think Councilor McCallum's question wasn't exactly answered.
It was exactly answered, Ms. Leonard.
Don't get yourself excited.
Well, I'm just, I'm a little concerning to me that you have a business that you have a businessman that has a large building on Bellevue Avenue that's been a restaurant. And we're in a situation where everybody knows that there are a lot of restrictions on these restaurants.
Correct, I said that.
Yeah, and I have said, and I have said, if my client, when the transfer is granted, my client will run the business itself when it's feasible to do it. I mean, I don't think, would you want somebody to open up a business and be able to serve 2 tables, 3 tables? So you're opening them up to fail is what you're doing.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, how long can somebody legally do that? Because I wouldn't open a business now. Do I look like a stupid business person?
No, but would you throw away a restaurant that you have invested in your property and throw away a liquor license?
Of course not. I'm not asking that. I'm only asking you how long you could hold it.
Under the commercial licensing laws, Rule 1.4.14, granted licenses that are granted and that are not issued. In other words, the license hasn't been picked up for operating. It's a 1-year period of time.
Right.
And I would anticipate that once this license is transferred, I anticipate my client to move to have the license issued to him, regardless of whether he opens or not. I anticipate that he'll move to have the license up, which means he has to pay all his taxes. Department of Health has to come down and look at it. We have to give you a menu. We have to go through the litany of things we have to do. I anticipate that I want the license issued to my client. I'm not going to sit around and let the license hang around the clerk's office.
I'm not asking that. You missed my point. Chris Bean answered the question. 1 year.
No, he didn't answer the question, Ms. Leonard. What he said was that if it's not issued, correct, I anticipate that my client will have the license issued.
No, the license issues when you're ready to operate.
Yeah, we'll be ready to operate. We'll get the health department open and we'll do it. And just because we don't open the doors, that doesn't mean it's not issued. You said issued, Chris. So once it got issued.
I think, Turner, we're talking about different things, but that's. there is a regulation on it that I just cited.
And it
What
talks
I'm
about
saying
issuing a
is,
license.
if I were a business person and COVID is still continuing and it wasn't economically viable to open it, get the license, I would get the license and I would, if there's a time limit on it, I would ask for an extension. That was my point.
An
Why I
extension?
asked the question.
I don't know what extension we would have if we had the license issued to us.
If you weren't able to operate, then you would have to come back probably to get an extension or something. I was making just questions. So there's no misunderstanding.
It seems to me this is just a plain transfer of a license, so I'm not sure what all the issues are. I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a regular transfer of a license.
And like every other restaurant business is really in a very limited environment.
A big bind.
So, I understand it now. I do. Yes. Mr. Holder, did you want to comment again?
No, that's what I was just saying, it's just a regular transfer of license, so I don't know what all the discussion's about.
Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing?
There's a motion and second to close the public hearing. Clerk, take the roll.
Commissioner Bova?
Aye.
Commissioner Segli?
Aye.
Commissioner Fuerte?
Aye.
Commissioner Holder?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard?
Aye.
Commissioner McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
I just have a question for Chris. Chris, do I have to make separate motions for the building license and for the liquor license? I just should do those separately? Because we didn't take up the vittling license in the beginning of the meeting.
Right, you should do, well, I do them, I think you can do them both.
Yeah.
Technically, the council grants the VIT, but yeah, I would do them both.
At the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the vittling license for New Robin Realty LLC, doing business as to be determined, 103 to 105 Bellevue Avenue. And motion to approve the application of Griswold's doing business as Griswold's Tavern, 103 to 105 Bellevue, holder of a Class BV alcoholic beverage license, to transfer ownership to Robin Realty LLC, Michael Shore 50%, Emily Leventhal 50%, doing business as to be determined for the same premises. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, take the roll.
Commissioner Bova?
Aye.
Commissioner Segli?
Aye.
Commissioner Fuerte?
Aye.
Commissioner Holder?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard?
Aye.
Commissioner McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and second to adjourn. Clerk, take the roll.
Commissioner Bova?
Aye.
Commissioner Segli?
Aye.
Commissioner Fuerte?
Aye.
Commissioner Holder?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard?
Aye.
Commissioner McCalla?
Aye.
Mayor Napolitano?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Aye.